Hi everyone, so this is an example coursework plan for you to follow. As you can see, the opening thesis paragraph notes have been filled out. You should have got to the point of having filled these out already, but if not, you just need to state the theme that you're going to be looking at in your coursework. And underneath, for each of the texts that you've selected, you're just going to say in note form just how each of those texts have kind of presented the theme or approached the theme. In this example, it's somebody who has compared a play with 2 poems. Most of you guys will be comparing 4 poems. So yours is going to look slightly different, but we're kind of following the same format throughout. Okay, so as you can see, what we've got is that each of the sections are filled out. So I'm just going to take you through what's been done and how you can do this for yourself. So you've got each of the poems, so you can see the first poem there as Follower, and the second text as Death of a Salesman, and then the third poem of Digging. So for each of your poems, you just need to write down the title next to which one you're selecting. It doesn't really matter what order they're in, because I'm going to show you how we can order it in a little while. So point 1 of the first poem, you can see at the top there that they've just made note form about kind of the general point that's going to be made in that paragraph. So we can see they're going to be exploring the clash between father and son, and where the father is described to kind of generate that clash or the impression of that clash. What you've got in the second point is that we've then got the son is described, so I'm just going to correct that. So you've got 2 sort of distinct paragraphs where they are exploring the clash, but they're looking at different aspects of that. Underneath, you can see the terminology that they're going to be applying in that paragraph. So they've obviously identified quotes that incorporate each of these things, or they're going to reference these things. So you've got first person perspective, simile and connotation in the first one, and then you've got adjective, asyntactic listing and plosive alliteration in the second. You can see that they're highlighted different colours. So what I'm suggesting is that this is quite a good idea for you as you plan, because you get a sense of whether or not you're including all of the sections or not. Now, at a glance through this plan, you kind of notice that they've mostly got elements of the yellow section in there, and they probably need to incorporate other aspects a little bit more. But what you can see down below is that I've kind of colour coded mine. You can do the same with yours. So each section is a different colour. So what I've then been able to do on the plan is just go back and identify what colour each of those terms are, so that when my plan is complete, I can kind of see the distribution of terms that I'm using. What you can see at the bottom of these points is where we've got a link. So your links can probably be added in afterwards. Your initial plan is likely to include lots of points for each poem before you start to narrow it down. So what you'll find in the template is that I've listed 3 possible sections that you can fill in points for, but what you might want to do is obviously include a lot more points initially and then narrow it down. So once you've written all your points, you can start to make links between them as you go through. So you can see throughout that this is just carried on, so each of the points that you're making have been kind of summarised in note form, and then underneath we've literally just got a list of terms that you're going to apply to that point, and then you've got some links at the bottom. Now, the final step, once you've filled out all of that and you've got all your points, you've potentially narrowed it down as well, is to then start deciding which order these will go in your coursework. So obviously you can see here with point 1 that I'm deciding this is going to be paragraph 1. This is obviously after the thesis paragraph, so the thesis paragraph will always come first, and then I've decided that point 1 is going to be paragraph 1. I've also decided that because it flows on and I'm just developing paragraph 1, that we're going to have point 2 as paragraph 2. And you'll see throughout that I've done that, and underneath I've just kind of said this is either similar to, or it's a development of, or it's in contrast to. So by doing that, it's also giving you a sense of how many similarities you're identifying, as well as how many contrasts you're identifying, as well as where you're maybe developing points a little bit further and adding on to them by exploring another aspect. So it'll give you a sense once your plan's complete of whether or not you need to find further similarities or further contrasts throughout. So please use this as a model as you complete your coursework plan. Now you'll notice that the deadline up here is listed as Friday the 22nd of November. That's mainly because it will then give me a week to have a look over it and leave you some comments. You can obviously complete it after this date. What I would say is that you're handing in your first draft in January, middle of, I think off the top of my head, the date is 15th of January, but I will double check that. So you want to give yourself enough time to kind of have a rough plan and then begin writing. Your plan doesn't need to be wholly complete before you start your first draft, but it will help if it's as complete as possible because it will give your teacher an indication of where you're going. If you're going to complete it after the 22nd of November, just make sure that you just share it up here and you share it with Sarah. So I'll leave the details on the community for you in terms of Sarah's address, because then Sarah will be taking over the class and she can take a look. Alright, good luck with your planning. Feel free to watch this video again for explanations and have an explore of the coursework plan example so that you can follow it in your own work.